Hello, I am glad you're here. Today we're going to dive into the wonderful world of book cover design. This is going to be fun, okay? You get to get creative, you get to put your personality out there, and yes, your book will be judged by its cover. So please put some thought into this. I want you to at least watch the videos and get your wheels rolling, okay? So today I want to talk about whether the DIY, do-it-yourself option is going to be the best fit for you, or if you are going to be better suited hiring a professional. There is a variety of reasons why either of these is a good fit for any particular book or author. So consider your options, do some research, and let me give you some things to think about. Let's talk about DIY first, and rest assured we're going to go into some more details on this approach because I want to empower you with as much DIY related information as I possibly can. But DIY, in the biggest sense, is the best option if you are on a limited budget. Yes, you may have to spend a few hours, days, or weeks and knee deep in YouTube tutorial videos. But if you are comfortable with that, you have time, patience, interest, and this isn't going to make you want to pull your hair out or scream or, never publish your book, then continue listening and consider this option because it's going to be the most budget-friendly option. Now, within that vein, what you need to consider are some different platforms that can assist you in your DIY approach. Something like Canva, C-A-N-V-A, will be pretty user-friendly, have some pre-made templates, and all of this can be free. You don't have to do a lot of thinking with the templates, but sometimes there's not full ownership of the customization. Sometimes there are limits to what you can do. Specifically with Canva, if you want to utilize particular features or some images like little icons or illustrations, they may require a small payment, $1 or something like that. If you have a free account, those are going to be like add-on options. But you can absolutely do something within Canva or a program similar to Canva that offers you templates, and it could be free or very low cost. So these are options. The one thing I want to really just put a little pin in for you, look into whether or not an option that is like bottom dollar free will also be good in not only the cover, but the back of the cover. If you are printing hard copy, remember, you have to have something like a barcode and, those type of features on your back cover. So, your blurb and all of that. So this is, there may be some complexities that those free options are not as easy to work with. So just keep that in mind. That the free options may be the best fit for you if you are just doing an ebook and you have a very simplistic design desire, some preferences that are very simplistic and don't require a lot of high-end customizations. That might be your best bet. So definitely look into the template options, see if something sparks your fancy, and it might be perfect for you. Some other software in the book cover design world for do-it-yourselfers are going to sway to the other end of the spectrum and be like 100% reliant on your customization of a blank document, so to speak, a blank slate. They are, those programs are going to allow you to do literally anything you want, but you have to understand how to work the system. You have to be kind of familiar or at least patient enough, willing to learn enough to understand the technology. And it may be helpful for you to have some kind of base level design knowledge so you understand color schemes and what goes with what and what is attractive to the eye and what's not, what might work as far as fonts, how to size this thing a different size, what is high quality DPI, what is, low quality, and all of that. Okay. It gets into the nitty gritty terminology. How do you export it to a JPEG file or a EPUB file or whatever, whatever the platform that you're publishing on is going to require. You may need to understand those requirements as well before you utilize any software program, free or not free, the other end of the spectrum. Something like Adobe InDesign is going to be a more expensive option because you have to download and pay for, an entire system. That particular piece of software is going to be extremely versatile in a lot of other areas. This may be what you decide to use for book formatting. Maybe this is up your alley. So this could be a perfect solution for you depending on your skill level and budget and all of that. So the world of DIY book cover design varies greatly. We will spend some time going into the nitty-gritty of what is good book cover design, what elements do you need to consider, what colors and fonts and all of that are your readers going to be drawn to. Remember, they're judging you, so you want to judge back with your prejudging. You want to judge yourself before they judge you, right? I know as a reader, there have been books that I really, 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 really wanted to buy that were so pretty. I'm just going to tell you a little story. I was in this bookstore this last weekend, and I should not allow to be in bookstores, but I would have had about 45 books in my arms if my one criteria was pretty book covers. There are so many pretty ones. I just wanted them all, and I want to look at them all. But I'm very, I like being surrounded by pretty things. I don't know if you can see in my office. This is merely half of it, but that's just me. I'm very visually. I'm a visual person. Things appeal to me visually, or they don't. So, for example, I was in a book club in a networking group, and they chose this book that had the prettiest cover, but I flipped it over and I'm like, I don't want to read this one, but I really wanted to buy it because it was so pretty, but I didn't. I did some extra work. You want your readers to feel like, I have to buy this. It's just the most beautiful cover in the world. And I just love it so much, and it makes me feel a certain way. You want that, right? So that's kind of your ultimate goal in book cover design, is finding something that speaks to your readers on a deeper level and connects with them and draws them in like honey, like a fly to honey. Bees make the honey, flies are attracted to it, right? So, that is your DIY end of the spectrum. Figuring out what software, again, we're going to talk more about this, figuring out kind of the design elements. If you are you get to a point where you're like me, where you're like, I'm going to hire a professional because I don't have time or patience for this. That's okay. That's perfectly okay. There are many professionals out there, as you will see if you go down this path and do some research, and they offer the technical know-how and hopefully the design eye. They have some design skill behind them, so you don't necessarily have to tell them exactly what to do. They could potentially interpret your desires and some things about your book and make something that you love. Now, really, the one biggest criteria you need to consider with a book designer, well, I guess I'm going to say two, but they're very interrelated, is budget, right? What do you want to pay for this? The more you're willing to pay, the higher level of skill you're going to get. Skill and experience doesn't always translate into necessarily higher quality or a more satisfied customer, meaning you, but it can. There is a correlation there. But that is not to say that the lower end of the spectrum of designers are disappointing or unskilled. They just are newer. They're going to be newer, less experienced. They may not have the specialization in some features or some genres or something like that the more higher level designers have been able to do as they've increased their skills. In the world of book cover design, I'm not exactly sure whether you are going to be better suited for higher or lower overall. If you get somewhere in the area of what your target image is, I think you're going to be happy, but do consider your options. Here's some things that will adjust your price based upon what you want, but also when the price adjusts, it implies that you need to look for a more skilled designer. So let's talk about this quick. Genre can be a bit of a factor. So if you find someone who specializes in like textbooks or children's books, that may not be the best fit for you, but maybe fiction or standard nonfiction could be an okay fit. So just consider that a little bit. But your overall concept for the book cover, if you have a very simplistic perspective and have just a really beautiful, simple, clean idea in mind, you may not require a higher skilled designer. But if you have this grand vision of this custom illustration that needs to be done, it's detailed and it's one of a kind, you're going to need top of the line for that, okay? So think about, for example, if you are asking the designer just to insert a stock image of a vehicle or a family or something, that is easy, right? That's like a lower end easy skill. Find a stock image, slap it on a cover file, put some words on it, and bada bing, bada boom. Middle of the road is maybe a simple design, a simple drawing, less detail, more, fewer lines, cleaner. That's going to be something that's not going to be as expensive or require a higher level skill. And again, the more complex your illustrations are or your design elements, the more customization you're requiring, the higher the skill, the higher the price. So think about that. Think about the size of your book. If you have a big fat book or your book cover is going to be a bigger book cover, that might increase the costs. Your turnaround time, if you need something rushed, you're going to be paying a few more bucks, and you may want someone a little more skilled so that the quality doesn't suffer in kind of a pressure situation there. And then, their experience level, like I said, is kind of the top of the line. You can start there and measure down and up if you want, but sometimes budget is the overall factor. Anticipate spending a few $100s, and then the more experience, the more complex your design, the higher you're going to go. 1,500 plus is not unheard of for the top level book designers. So you really do have to think about what your needs are here. But again, they're bringing the experience, they're bringing the tech savvy, they're taking the hassle on for you. You don't have to worry about stressing out about the software and all that. So this can be a very good option for some people. Now, the next step in this process, and maybe even before you officially decide, you want to go through the process of, and before you even talk to any designers, you want to prepare what we call a design brief. And what this does is it has two benefits, really. It helps you get clear on your vision. It helps you go through the process of thinking, well, what do I want? Does this fit my readers? Does this look, will this look like every other book in the market, right? So the process of preparing this brief helps you translate what's inside of you, inside of your head and your heart, onto paper so that you can, number two, turn around and give it to the expert if you so choose to go through that process. Even the first step, the first benefit here is going to help you in your DIY approach. But overall, the design brief is designed, not to utilize that word in too many different senses here, but it's created so that you can get your thoughts out and share them with the professional with information that they are going to need in order to serve you better, which translates into a happier customer, a more successful relationship, and an end product that you love. So this process of creating a design brief is going to be extremely valuable. Here are some elements you want to put in this design brief. And, feel free to take this further in some areas if you're being called to, but describe your ideal reader is going to be the first step. What are their demographics? What are their likes and dislikes? Are you speaking to mainly women? If so, do you want something extremely masculine looking? Maybe not. What about your genre and what about your story might you want to display on the cover? Because we're talking about a memoir, you may be strongly considering a picture of you. But which picture? And why? And how big? And, that type of thing you're going to have to do some thinking on. But considering your reader, who you're trying to speak to, is extremely important. Your designer is going to want to know who these people are as well. And genre, you might have some kind of industry standards that happen in the genre, or there might be some trends going on that have been working really well, or, maybe that are fading. You don't necessarily want to use the old trend, right? And then include in your brief your personal preferences. Like, I'm not a big fan of the color yellow. I don't know. I don't want my book to have yellow on it. That's just me. I'm a weirdo, but maybe that's your favorite color and that's what you want on your book, no matter what, no matter if your readers like it or not. So, get creative and start thinking about what are your, like, yes, I must have this, or like, no way, please, I don't want this ever at all under any circumstances. What are your yes and no's? What are your preferences? Start listing that down. Also, in your design brief, you're going to want to give, and this is more for your designer, but your book specs, size, word count, page size, and page number. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Like, if your book is a 6x9, 6 inches by 9 inches, 5.5 by 8.5, and then also, like, do you have 400 pages, 500 pages, 200 pages? Word count can be less helpful, but you might as well throw it in there, right? So think about that. Are you publishing a hard copy or an ebook? And if you're publishing a hard copy, are you publishing hardcover or soft cover, right? They want to know these things. It can change the way that your material is displayed on the cover. Think about a hardcover book with one of those wraparound covers and, removable covers. That changes the whole layout, right? So you want to make sure you tell them how you intend to publish this so that they understand what templates they need to use or what type of specifications they should follow. Let them know when you're publishing and where you intend to publish. This sometimes matters and sometimes doesn't, but of course, the date is helpful because, or at least anticipated date or goal date, so that they know how to prioritize your project, how fast or slow they get to work, and all that. So I'm going to tell you a little quick story to illustrate how important this is. When I decided to rebrand my business, I hired a web designer. And I know it's not the same thing, but go with this for a minute. I had built 3 of my own websites before. I understood the technology. I really enjoy the process, actually, quite surprisingly. But I knew that I didn't have time or patience for it. I wanted a professional to take it over. I wanted to see something maybe above my level, above my skill level, above my pay grade on this. I wanted something to wow me. And it never dawned on me to put together something like this design brief until I hired a designer, and she and I were not on the same page. And I sat down and I did this design brief, and oh my gosh, I had so much clarity on what I wanted and what I didn't. It was just amazing. So it was definitely well worth the effort. Even later in the process, well worth the effort, well worth, even for my own self, understanding what I want and what I don't, and my ability to talk with my professional partner with regards to my desires, what I want, what I don't, what I like, what I don't like, all of that is so valuable. So you're never going to regret spending time creating this design brief, and have fun with it. Make it a little PowerPoint, put in images and clips of things that you like. We'll talk in my next video about doing some market research. Find book covers you love, find ones you don't like, and all of that. Colors, have at it. This is your book. This is your baby. Now, if you come out of this going, oh my gosh, I don't want to spend 5 seconds on this design brief, maybe it's because the book cover is not as important to you and you're just that type of person who is not pulled visually to something and it's just not connecting with you. That's okay. Tell your designer that. If you don't intend to do this yourself, tell your designer that, like, I don't really care what you do. You got full creative license here, designer. Maybe they're okay with that, right? But either way, you need to have some solid direction on where you want to take this project, okay? So please continue coming back for future videos as we get into this process a little bit more, and you then will be emerging with a beautiful book cover that Danielle cannot resist but, to buy when I see it in the bookstore, right? Talk to you soon.